afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us on KTN Newsdesk this 17th day of November 2015. My name is Betty Okari. In the next half an hour, we will be giving you the details of the stories that are happening currently and, of course, the things that have been taking place this day since early morning. And we start with another story that, of course, has been the highlight of some of the issues that we've been talking about, especially talking about the ICC. And, of course, we begin here in Nairobi, where tens of Kenyan legislators are departed for the Hague, where countries are meeting to discuss the working of the International Criminal Court. Now, the legislators want to pile pressure on the Assembly of State Parties to forestall a decision by the ICC to use previously recounted evidence in the William Ruto case. But in Kisumu, victims of the post-election violence maintain that their plight has been overshadowed by the politics and diplomacy over the ICC. Victor Ogale has more from Kisumu.
Wilson Owengi's workshop is located next to the main Kisumu bus park. Owengi previously lived in Limuru for 30 years. But after the post-election violence, the 64-year-old was forced to leave and return home. Back in Kisumu, he had to make ends meet. He sold startup capital from friends and family to open this workshop where he does repairs of electronic goods and appliances.
The victims, most of the victims in Nyanza, has really lost hope. And so what we would like the government to do, we need the government to compensate Nyanza region IDPs network, IDPs, integrated IDPs. Because even if somebody is jailed in the ICC, that will not bring food into our tables. So we would like cohesion, we would like truth, justice and reconciliation.
Owengi also doubles up as the chairman of the Nyanza chapter of IDPs. He thinks the justice needs to supersede the politics surrounding the International Criminal Court cases involving Deputy President William Ruto and Joshua Sang.
It was a very sad day in my life, and even I did not want to remember about it because it really is very sad. I became a beggar in this town due to what I'm an old man, I cannot go to do construction. So I'm really very, very, very happy that if the government can be able to come and give us a redress, give up compensation so that our people and the IDPs like myself can be able to build this nation.
We find Maureen Opondo cross-checking the list of post-election violence victims in Nyanza, where she serves as the women representative. In January 2008, her business was destroyed that was in Bahati, Nakuru County. She was then confined into an IDP camp. However, for Nelson and his colleagues, they feel that they have been shortchanged by the government as they are yet to receive compensation as compared to other IDPs from the rest of the country.
Watu wanalipwa all the time, Rift Valley Central, Rift Valley Central. Hakuna mtu anaongea kuhusu Nyanza. Hakuna mtu anajua ya kwamba kuna mwadhiriwa ambayo anaweza patikana Nyanza.
The case of the ICC has become a circus for victims. They had hopes that the ICC would be able to restore them, to restore their dignity. But all they are seeing is frustration and re-traumatization. We want to take the president at his word of restorative justice. There are people who are maimed, there are people who are psychologically affected.
Zamani tulikuwa marafiki sana na watu wa hapa. Tulikuwa tunajuana. Lakini hii siasa iko na kisirani.
Already, the International Criminal Court has pushed oral hearings on Deputy President William Ruto and radio journalist Joshua Sang, no case to answer motions from November to January next year. Victor Ogale, KTN News, Kisumu County.
Now, Kenyans and the media fraternity will soon have a right to access information held by government ministries and other public authorities without hindrance. All this is thanks to the Access to Information Bill 2015, currently before a parliamentary committee. The Media Council of Kenya and the Editors Guild have described the bill as one of the most progressive legislations to be introduced in Parliament. However, the bill states that information may be withheld where such information is likely to undermine the national security of Kenya.
Access to Information Bill is it's a very progressive bill that we've seen from the National Assembly, and I must really commend the Committee of Energy, Information and Communication for once we are reading from the same script as key media stakeholders, the Editors Guild, Kenya Union of Journalists, Kenya Correspondents Association, and the Media Council. We really have no major issues with clauses of the bill, and this bill will enable our work as journalists be better going forward, because we can now write to the ministries and other public officers and even private entities that we are seeking information, and they must avail that information in a very candid way within specified time, which is 21 days, I think. All of you know how it has been very difficult accessing information from government, because we have a law that under the Official Secrets Act that makes it very difficult for us to access information which is critical to the public.
I want to assure you again, and the media fraternity, that as Parliament, we are committed to making sure that we work together with all the stakeholders, and especially in my committee, which I chair. We want to ensure that all the views that you bring to us are taken into consideration when coming up with this bill. And at the end of the day, where we need to make amendments, we make amendments so that everybody will feel satisfied. Indeed, this bill, as you say, is extremely important to this country, access to information. But of course, also this bill also needs to come with data protection bill, which is also underway. And I think as soon as it comes on the floor of the House, we will also call you again for your views, which we believe we will also be able to incorporate in the bill, so that when it becomes an act of Parliament, then eventually everybody will be satisfied.
Well, we want to speak to our Patrick Amino, who is at the City Center studio here in Nairobi, just to give us more details about this particular bill. Thank you very much, Patrick, for joining us this afternoon. Let's talk about the things that we cannot do. What kind of information is this that we will need to have probably guidance or some sort of authority to have?
Indeed. Thank you so much, Betty. Maybe just to bring you up to speed on why we should have this access to information bill, why it's important for it to be enacted. This bill is meant to operationalize Article 35 of our Constitution, which deals with access to information. Remember, in the past regimes, we've been dealing with cases where there's, it's been very difficult to get information from government ministries or departments. Oftentimes, officers cite the Official Secrets Act, and even if it was information that's supposed to be in public domain or it's not very sensitive information, we've always had government officials hiding behind the Official Secrets Act. So with this bill, which has been initiated by the Nyeri County Women MP Priscilla Nyokabi, it will operationalize Article 35 to ensure that every Kenyan or member of the media fraternity access this information as fast as possible. And indeed, there are provisions where they say that this information, if it touches on the life of a person or it concerns life or liberty of a person, such information should be released within 48 hours. And the maximum period that has been given for the information to be released is 21 days. But where information is complex and maybe it might require some time, the bill provides that it should be released within 15 working days. So there are provisions within which an individual must access this information. It's not an open check. There are time limits, timelines within which the information must be provided, and if not, the public officer in charge who is declined to release such information is liable to a fine or even imprisonment. But to get to your question on some of the provisions in the bill where information might not be, the public might not easily access that information, is to do their provisions where they say if such information will undermine national security, the national security of Kenya. The other provision is that if such thing will impede the due process of law or endanger the safety or life of any person. And maybe in terms of national security, we're looking at terms of where there's a military operation. If it's something to do with the deployment of troops in let's look at a situation like a cattle rustling area, or maybe on our borders, look at say in our border with Somalia, maybe there's something that there's a military operation. Such information, maybe they might not not give us the exact numbers of officers who are involved in this particular operation, the strategies that will be involved in ensuring that they deal with those criminal elements, and also maybe the number of ammunition and the caliber. Such sensitive information will not be surrendered to the media fraternity. The other area is where such kind of information will involve unwarranted invasion of the privacy of an individual other than the applicant or the person on whose behalf an application has been made. So if it's if they feel that that the information would be getting into someone's privacy unwarranted, then such information will not be easily accessed unless you give reasons on why you feel that you want to get that information, unless if it's in public interest. But if it's infringing on one's, if it's an invasion on privacy, then such information will not be easily given out. The other area is to do with the infringement. If it infringes on the commercial interest or intellectual property rights of a commercial entity or a private entity, then such information, if it's to do with commercial interests or is infringing on intellectual rights, then such information also, there is a provision that that particular body or department or entity might argue that this information is touching on my intellectual rights or commercial interests, then that information might not be released because it might give undue advantage to a competitor. The other area where the information is limited is where it could damage a public entity's position in any actual or contemplated legal proceedings. So if it's the area also where it infringes on legal professional privilege, such areas also it's limited. You might not access such information. But in other areas, there's that freedom that you can access whatever information you want from either ministry or a department. Betty?
All right, Amimo, so who exactly is going to be making this decision on which information can be released and the information that cannot be released? Who is that person?
There are those public officers. If it's in the case of government, there are those public officers heading such departments, particular departments. So if you are a public officer and there is a member of the public or the media wants to access certain information that is within your mandate, then you have to release that information. If it's not touching on national security, if it will not infringe on commercial interests, you're supposed to give that to release the information within that stipulated days, 48 hours up to 21 days. That information must be released to that particular individual who is seeking that information, and it's the public officer who has access to that information. The other area is that this information also should not be levied. It should be made in a manner that is so simple, and a member of the public should access this information without putting roadblocks to him or her that maybe we need to give such amount. Maybe we could look at an area of maybe making photocopies. If that information will require photocopies, maybe those are the only ones, the only area where we might look at and say maybe I've used 10 shillings or 20 shillings to make this particular photocopies, so that one I might levy you to get the information. But the information is supposed to be free. And also the other area that is very good with this particular bill is that there is a protection of a member of the public who will give information that which according to him or her is of public interest. Such information, if it's withheld and a member of the public feels that discloses such information, that person is protected under this particular bill. The person will not be victimized. So in so doing, this one will also, the bill will encourage whistleblowers who will have something of public interest out there. And again, it's not that this despite the provisions that some information might be withheld, where it's held that the information in that is in public domain or is of public interest, then such information will the public officer in charge will be forced to release such information to whoever wants to have it. Betty?
Right. Thank you very much, Patrick Amimbo, for that report there. Of course, he's going to have a compiled report in our subsequent bulletins, just reporting there on matters concerning that media bill that will be tabled at the floor of the House this afternoon. Now, let's move on to Nyeri, and police in that county are investigating the deaths of 3 men whose bullet-riddled bodies were found lying next to each other along the Chaka-Sagana State Lodge Road. The bodies were discovered in a blood-splattered scene within the expansive Mount Kenya forest, an indication that the 3 could have been shot at the spot by their assailants. No identification documents were recovered from the bodies, making it impossible for police and residents to identify the 3 men. Kieni East OCPD Michael Mbaluku said preliminary investigations indicated that they could have been picked elsewhere before being taken to the forest and executed. Mbaluku said a burning motorcycle had been discovered earlier near Chaka Township, and the 2 incidents could be related. Police also recovered 7 spent bullets at the scene. Some residents say the bodies belong to members of a group that has been implicated in robberies in the area.
Sawa, wakati tutapita hapa jiani hapa kwa kajia kako hapa tukaangalia tukaona mbele yetu kuna watu wamelala. Si tukadhania ni walevi. Tukaribia kwenda kutuona ni walevi wa aina gani, tukaona hapana, hawa si walevi. Tukakaribia kabisa ndio tukaona hawa ni watu wanaonekana ni kama wamepigwa. Kukaribia kabisa tukaona ni damu na hakuna lungu, hakuna silaha yote kama panga. Tukaona na si dofu, hata kama kuna mafi ya dofu karibu, hakuna miguu ya dofu, yani ya kuonyeshana ati ni madofu waliwashambulia. Sasa tukakaribia kabisa tukaona risasi moja hapo chini. Kuona risasi moja hapo chini, mimi nikatoa simu yangu nikapigia mzee wa area.
Sasa hawa watu ni kuleto, ni kama kuleto tu na kuuao hapo. Sababu hakuna mtu tunajua.
Something fishy took place, and we shall be investigating. It is too early to say what has happened, and whatever we shall get after our investigations, we shall relay the same to the media and possibly even to the members of the public to know what happened.
To Burundi now, where analysts are warning of a further escalation following a wave of killings over the weekend. The warning from the Institute for Security Studies came as it emerged that another 7 people had been killed and several others wounded in the latest violence in Burundi's capital, a week after the launch of a crackdown search for weapons.
Violence is ongoing in Burundi, and we know that. But what makes a difference between 200 and something people dead so far and a few thousands or tens of thousands is timing, really. What's the most challenging about Bujumbura at the moment, and potentially other parts of the country if we had more information, is the fact that things can go very normally for a few days and then all of a sudden you have an attack. And try to identify who's doing the killing and at what time of the day it's going to happen is very unpredictable. And I think this is the greatest danger in Bujumbura, is the fact that we don't know when, we don't know where, and then sometimes we don't even know who. I think the genocide concerns can never be completely removed from the situation in Burundi, given the legacy of ethnic violence in the past. I think, however, it muddles our understanding of the situation. If we can actually get them at the table, there will be de-escalation, because we've seen that in the past. When the opposition and the ruling party refuse to talk to each other, there's more rhetoric, there's more violence. When they're at the table, there's de-escalation. And de-escalation is maybe not a resolution, but it's already better in terms of security and the well-being of the population.
And still matters on ICC, we want to cross over to our Mercy Kandie in Eldoret. And there's a new twist to this whole witness saga. Mercy, bring us up to speed with what this particular man has to say about Deputy President William Ruto's case.
Yes, indeed, Betty. Controversy, again, a new twist happening here in the North Rift. Just today, we're just from a press briefing from one of the residents from Nandi County, one man who says he's a farmer from Nandi County called Eliud Koech. I'm here with a press statement. He is, AKA, he says, Elias Masengo. He says he was a prominent PNU campaigner during the 2007 general election. And what he is alleging today, Betty, is that on the 31st of October 2015, the governor of Nandi County apparently allegedly approached him and told him that they should have a meeting. They met at a certain restaurant here in Eldoret, and what he is alleging is that the governor of Nandi County had told him to frame Senator Arap Sang and say that he had participated in the coaching of witnesses against the ICC cases. And what he's saying, that he's coming out now to say that he refused that deal. What he says was promised a job at the county and money. But yes, Betty, that's the new controversy right now here. Remember, it comes barely a week after two other residents from Nandi County claiming they are witnesses, and they were alleging that Senator Arap Sang had participated. The farmer from Nandi County, Mr. Koech, says that in that particular meeting he was seated with Senator Charles Keter, who also said that he excused himself from that meeting and that he will not participate in the politics of that county. Betty?
Mercy, these are damning allegations. Does he have any sort of evidence in regard to what he is claiming?
Betty, what he has is actually no particular evidence. What he says that one of those people who was there, that he witnessed the meeting between him and Governor Cleophas Lagat of Nandi, is Senator Charles Keter, who he says stepped aside. But he also gave us a statement signed by himself claiming the allegations that he's now having against Governor of Nandi County. But also, Betty, remember, right of reply, we are in contact with the Nandi County Governor, who is able to give us his right of reply as the day pans out. Betty?
Finally, you spoke of political intrigues in Uasin Gishu County that are sort of like, getting involved in the deputy president's case. Maybe you can just expound a little bit on that.
Oh yes, point of correction, Betty, Nandi County and not Uasin Gishu. So there's a lot of politics. There has been a lot of not smooth relationships in some counties between the senators and the governors. So in Nandi County, there has been a lot of controversy in terms of relationships between the governor and the senators. So yes, a lot of questions to be raised in terms of the authenticity of this, considering that there has been a lot of controversies surrounding that particular relationship between the governor and the senator. Betty?
Thank you very much, Mercy Kandiye, there reporting from Uasin Gishu County, of course, giving us the details of the latest intrigues in the William Ruto case. Apparently, a man known as Eliud has just come up saying that he apparently or allegedly was coerced to be a witness by the Nandi governor, but of course we will be getting clear details on this particular developing story, and Maskandia will be bringing us those developments in our bulletins throughout the day. Now, moving on, to a story here from I beg your pardon, let me just bring you up to speed with some stories here in business. And the national football team Harambee Stars is yet to arrive in Cape Verde after being stranded for more than 6 hours at the Wilson Airport in Nairobi last evening. Following the Stars' delay, I beg your pardon, Nyamwera is said to have been arrested for questioning. The national football team Harambee Stars finally flew out to Cape Verde Monday night after a number of issues, including unpaid allowances, were sorted out. However, after government intervention, the team flew out via a chartered flight ahead of the World Cup qualifier return match against the Blue Sharks of Cape Verde. Right, so we want to wind things up here on KTN and Newsdesk Part 1. Thank you very much for watching. Part 2 continues on KTN and News. And of course, you can join us there. My name is Betty Okari. Thank you very much for watching.